Good morning, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So, as you can see by today's thumbnail, this is strictly all suspension. I just want to dive right into this. I've already taken the hard part out of getting the car jacked up and making sure it's secured properly. It's not a difficult install by any stretch, but nonetheless, right, things can go wrong. A bolt might not want to come out. Luckily, on that lower B arms, we've already loosened the hardest screw to get to earlier when we did the rear suspension. That should come out easier. We'll find out here shortly. And also, before we start this too, I took the weekend off, right? It was a long weekend. I hope everybody enjoyed it, but I wanted to take a week off just to kind of relax, get back in the zone, and now we begin again, right? So today's rear suspension. So I actually did order the turbo blanket and the blanket for the downpipe. I'm waiting for those to come in, and then we can get those two pieces on. That way we can get even closer to getting on the dyno, right? And getting everything tuned all at once. But it only makes more sense to wait for the blankets for both the turbo and the downpipe. That way when I go to installing the downpipe and the front pipe, all of that is just all in one shot. I don't have to kind of go back, take anything apart, right? So that's the thought process behind that. Let's go tackle the suspension now so we get all these beautiful RV6 pieces on, right? So we got the tires removed. Now we can begin into the process of working on this guy, right? What we're gonna do is work on that first, because I actually want to get that, I want to get the rear sway bar end links out, or the rear sway bar with those end links. I want to get that all out first. So I'm gonna need to get that lower B arm done, get the spring out, then we can reassemble it, right? Once we get the rear sway bar in with the new end links. But going that way is the easiest route, because if you see too, there's only 2 bolts on these control arms, as you guys can see here. You got one right here, and then there's another one right over here in the far back. So it's not that difficult, but we'll go with the more cumbersome side of it first, right? So let's work on getting this guy out and then bringing down the spring. Then we can work on getting the rear sway bar in, okay? We got the stock guy off, right? And let me just show you for comparison. RV6, all right? Just for like the thickness versus the stock one. As you can see, there's a massive difference between the two, right? Also where the bushings sit at as well. So this is obviously way better. Now we just gotta get this back on the car, which I'll do right now. We'll go work on the other side, and then we'll try and get to these lower B arms right here, all right? All right, guys, we got it out. It's time to put this in. Anybody that's going RV6, just so you know, your lower control arm is gonna look like this, right? Let me get it in frame for you guys. This part that you see here with the screw, where you could put a wrench over and then loosen up the screw to adjust, that is always gonna face outside, so the outer part of your car towards your tire. So we're just gonna get this guy in here. So that's both lower control arms done. I'll show it to you right now. Let's see if you can see them. Yeah, you can see it right there. That guy's over there. The other one is on over there, if you guys can see it. But it looks really, really nice. I'm gonna work on getting this lower B arm out, because that is obviously in the way of the rear sway bar. One day, like I said in the last couple videos, one day we'll have a car mount where this thing just goes up and down, and I could be standing up and not having to crawl under it. One day, we'll get there, all right? But let's get this thing out of here. Okay, so I wanted to give everybody a little kind of recap here. I've been fighting with these screws, and off camera, I was getting them all loose. For the lower B arms, it's this whole bracket right here, essentially. And you have 3 bolts. So you have one here, one in the middle, and then the one all the way at the very end, right there where my finger's at. And the easiest way to do this when you change your springs out is like we did in my last video, right, with my father. Loosen up this very top one, and then you take out completely the middle and then the very far left one. And then that'll bring the arm down, you can get the spring in and out. Problem is when you're trying to do this work, there's no space. It's terrible, right, between here and my exhaust. And then you have the hanger for the exhaust here as well in the middle. So it wasn't the easiest, it is a pain. I had to do it with this DeWalt impact gun, and that was how I got it out. So I loosened them all up now. We'll just take them out. Now we can work on getting this guy out of here. Yeah, I'm on the floor. I'm telling you, hashtag my back is gonna kill me tomorrow. We're gonna get this guy out now. I loosened them, I didn't lower them. I loosened them across both lower B arms. So I didn't wanna deal with that on camera or waste your guys' time. That'd be pointless. So I'll get the lower B arm out now so that way I can put in the rear lower sway bar, right? So let's just get to it, knock this out. All right, guys, so we got out the passenger side, and man, little problem, it got stuck in the end link here. So I had to use a jack, and then me and my dad came down. I guess I should have got it on camera, but there was just a lot going on. But nonetheless, we were able to pry out the screw because it got stuck in the end link, and that's what was causing a lot of fuss. So we got it out. I'm gonna work on getting out the this rear sway bar. And these bolts are like, they're super tough, and they're in there good. So don't worry, I got a power tool for that. We're gonna get it right now. As you guys can see, the DeWalt impact wrench made mincemeat of that. Great tool, extremely powerful though. You gotta be super careful with it, right? This guy has been a lifesaver so far. Now that we got that out, we can get to assembling everything together now, right? First thing is, I have the new sway bar in front of me. This is obviously the stock one. Here's the new RV6 to give you guys, you know, just a glance. It's slightly thicker on the RV6 side, but that's about the only difference I see thus far is just that thickness. There are, I guess I should highlight this, there are 3 adjustment points for depending on how either loose or stiff you want to go with it. From everything I've seen, we're going to go with the middle one because the middle is kind of like that happy medium to get the right stiffness, but then it's not so like track centric, I guess you would say. You can adjust it if you'd like. Would I? Probably not, but I'm just going to leave it in the middle. And even if you look at the diagram here, it even shows you that the middle is where you want to put it as well. So the 3 levels are just for your stiffness. We'll go with the happy medium. And obviously kind of what the document says and from the research I've done online. The kit comes with the bushing, right? The end links are an added, so you can either purchase it all together or you don't have to get these end links, the billet end links, but it's better, right? And then also the kit includes all the new hardware, the grease, and then the bolts you're gonna need for each of them. I'm gonna get to assembling this now. That way we can get to putting it back on the car, okay? All right, guys, so this whole episode is probably on the floor, but I wanted to make sure I got the rear sway bar, the end links, and I even brought out the lower B arm off camera just to make sure everything aligned properly. The last thing I needed to do was have the sway bar backwards, right, and then I'll be screwed. So I made sure everything lined up, everything looks to be correct. What I am gonna do now is tighten these screws. So I'm gonna pan the camera, and if you can see them, Look at them right there in front of our face. You see what's holding the sway bar to the actual chassis of the car? We're gonna get these hex screws that came in the kit as well. We're gonna get them screwed to the chassis, get that thing buttoned up so that way I can start working on getting these lower B arms into the sway bar end links right here. So that's gonna be the plan right now. We'll put you here on the side and you guys can see kind of that process. Got the sway bar and the end links in. I'm gonna have to tighten the end links. I'm just leaving them loose so I have a little play with them. Outside of that though, we're gonna start mocking up the B arm here. This is the B arm. This is how it's gonna sit in the car, right? Just like this. Spring will actually go right here. And then the holes in the rubber grommets obviously will align with the holes here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this bolt in first, so that way when we mount the arm, it's basically dangling like this. And then I can get the flex that I need to unscrew, get all these screws in, all right? So that's how we're gonna do it. Let's see how everything works out, all right? So we finally got one half on. I am not gonna lie, that was extremely difficult. Here's why though, let me show you. So we're gonna go into the car, and as you can see, I have this whole right side done, passenger side done. And it looks very nice actually. Very, very beautiful piece. But the difficult part was here in the end links. Trying to get that in was the biggest pain. That's the hardest part, is trying to get that bolt, this one right here, to go through the end link and then finally notch it in. After you get that in, the last bolt at the very end here is a breeze, but that one, forget about it. I have been fighting here for at least 2.5 hours, if not more, just to get that bolt in. That thing did not want to move, it wouldn't want to budge. There's really not a lot of play on it. They're really hard, which is good, right? That's what you want. But trying to get these suckers to move in and out, no go. But we finally got it in. I'm not kidding you when I say it was anywhere from 2.5 hours to 4 hours of just fighting with that. Using a jack, going up and down. I mean, it was pretty brutal. But we got that in. So now I'm gonna try and tackle the driver's side, and let's pray it goes easier, right? Help me out. So that way we can button everything up, tighten all the bolts, put the tires back on, and then drop the car, right? We gotta get the spring in. As last time, remember the spring at the bottom has two plastic little like prongs that stick out, and there's inserts within here that they go into. So got put it in the hole, for lack of a better phrase. But we're gonna get this guy in right now. And then this is where the fun is gonna begin. So I'm using the jack to lift up the B arm and get it into a position with this sway bar end link extremely loose now. I'm not even playing with it anymore. It's just, this is the only way this guy gets in here. Remember, the whole goal here is to get the sway bar end link. This guy, the goal is to get this in first. I can worry about this end piece later, right? You just stick a flathead through the hole and you'll pry it. This guy though, this one does not like us. I can tell you that right now. I finally got that screw in off camera. I guess once you get one side in, you kind of get used to how things need to be set up, I guess, right? So it's in, screw that bolt, because that end link one is terribly difficult. Now I'm just gonna put in the last bolt on the side and we can begin tightening everything up. Oh yeah, that guy's gonna go in. The magic weapon. Told you guys, you take Mjolnir to this, you're gonna go in. I don't care who you are. All right, guys, that's officially it for today. I am done with the full RV6 suspension. Wow, this is an easy install, not supposed to be a difficult one. It was tough. And yes, I'm laying on the floor because I am exhausted. I'm gonna show it to you now, but it's just hard when you gotta do all of this on the ground and you have to lay facing up like I am currently. So difficult in that sense, but the actual install is simple just for those little hiccups like I ran through with you guys as I was going through it all. So I'll show it to you now, and I'm gonna call it a wraps at that. So there you guys go. That is the full RV6. I actually kind of like now that it matches my Eibach springs, but RV6 full suspension for the rear at least. Then that is the lower B arms, control arms, and then the rear sway bar with the Billet Endlinks. So hopefully it looks as good on this camera as it looks in person. I hope you see it from behind the car. I'm gonna end the video here like this. I'm not gonna bore you guys with putting the tires on, right? So I'll end the video like this. Next week we'll put on the PRL billet transmission mount, and I'll swap out my rear emblem with the black one that I've been dying to put on. And then hopefully that gives us enough time for that turbo and downpipe blankets to get in, so we can finally do that change. And then I'll have a surprise for you on the next video, which I thought was pretty cool. So, well, not a surprise, more like a message, but I thought it was pretty cool when it comes, it aligns with the dyno and getting this guy tuned. So stay tuned for that for next week. I'm gonna end it here. As always, guys, cógelo con take it easy. Your boy is tired, so I'm out.